We can even do that, too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show, too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. It's time to talk about the law. John Fuller is here from the law firm of Fuller & Fuller. The other Fuller in the name of the business is his wife, Janet. So the two work together. And he's on the air every Wednesday, so you can get your questions answered by simply picking up your phone and calling. The number is 622-WOCA. And that works out to 622-9622. And please call, interrupt us. We want you to. Your questions are important. And you actually had somebody asking me to ask you a question earlier this morning, so I'll get to that.
That's a good way to get started.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Larry. It's good to be back live. And hello to all the folks listening, and to whomever called in advance. We appreciate your thoughtfulness.
And the question is, it sounded like she was starting a business. What legal steps can I take to prevent a lawsuit at my business?
Well, unfortunately, we live in a litigious society, and there's not so much what you can do to prevent the possibility of a lawsuit, but the reasonable steps that you can take to ensure the maximum protection that you can have. First of all, I obviously don't know anything about what kind of business you're going to be in or what you're going to do, but be sure that whatever it is, you are in compliance with all of the codes and regulations. If you have a building, make sure that the stairs or steps into that building meet the requirements of the right height for the risers, the right depth for the steps, because if someone trips and falls down that's a violation. So that's evidence of negligence, okay? So make sure that you comply with codes, regulations, permitting, all of those things. The most important thing that you can do is to make sure that you have good insurance, and to get with a very competent insurance professional who can talk to you, or a financial planner who can talk to you about the different types of insurance that you have. General liability, vicarious liability, an umbrella policy if it exceeds your regular policy limits, so that if something does go badly and you end up being sued, you have the right kind of insurance to protect you. And it's not just go out and buy something simple like you're a homeowner and you buy a homeowner's policy. If you're a business owner, you need premises liability. You may need some type of, if it's a professional practice, you would need professional liability insurance. So make sure that your insurance is covered. Okay. Another good type of insurance if you're starting a new business, not so much to prevent being sued, but to have business continuation insurance, so that if one of your partners gets sick, it will pay money to the business to pick up the slack, because your overhead is based upon two producers. That sort of thing. And then finally, consult with a good business transactional lawyer to determine what type of business structure you should have. A corporation, a limited liability company, there are many different ones that afford protection from liability.
And you have a phone call, and good morning, you're on the air with John Fuller.
Business listing is not claimed and verified.
What happened? Did we lose them? I'm sorry.
Not find your business.
It's a recording. Oh gosh, isn't that crazy? It's like one of those soliciting calls or something. I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's exciting.
Isn't that crazy? I have a follow-up question, though, of my own, based on what you just, and how you answered the lady who called in earlier. When you talk about insurance, does that pay for legal fees? And is it the same as those prepaid legal things you hear about?
No, the prepaid legal thing is something different, and I'm not familiar with it, and you don't see it very often because legal services are so varied and the expenses, there's nothing that is a repetitive type canned procedure. In other words, you get health insurance and you have an appendectomy. They can predict almost to the penny how much the surgeon's fee is going to be, how much the anesthesiology fee is going to be, how much the pathology fee is going to be, what the hospital costs are going to be, how many days you should stay in the hospital, and they know what their cost is, so they can charge you accordingly on a premium. Lawsuits are impossible to predict, so there's not many standard procedures. So I don't know that legal insurance is very popular. Bottom line is, if you have liability insurance and you are sued for some type of negligence as a business operator, a premises owner, a premises occupier, they defend you, and the defense of the lawyer is covered out of your liability policy.
Okay, and you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to talk to me.
Good morning. It's always great to hear from you. I hope you're doing well.
Legal. I had that for a few years, and it was the biggest waste. And then later I was told by an attorney who did some work for my family that was just a waste of money.
That's what I have been told. I don't have any familiarity with it personally, but I've heard that observations from other people.
But I had a question, Mr. Fuller. This terrorism insurance, that anytime you have commercial insurance, they always try to sell that to you, and it costs about, last time I checked, it was an extra $300 or more. And I said to the agent, look, if we're going to have terrorists come over here and bomb the place, I mean, insurance probably ain't going to help me anyway. I mean, I just want your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Well, that's a very interesting comment, and one that I have not really thought about or studied. I will tell you that your standard liability policy has a fairly standard exclusion in it that excludes acts of war. And I think after 9/11, President Bush II declared that any type of combative activity by any subversive group would be considered an act of war. I'm not sure on that or how it works. I know it's they're not considered combatants like traditional armies. And everybody who talks about, well, whatever the techniques of our special operating forces to obtain data or information from captives. They talk about the Hague Convention and the Geneva Convention and all of those restrictions on how, quote, soldiers are supposed to be treated. And I read an article the other day that people who make that comment in criticism of governmental efforts, number one, there's almost a 99.9% chance that they have never read the Hague Convention nor the Geneva Convention provisions, and I haven't either, but it's very, 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 very detailed and onerous. Secondly, it only applies to armed combatants, not to terrorist subversive activity. So those things all have their own definitional terms, and what insurance would cover or not cover is dependent upon the language of your policy in large part.
And you have a phone call. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
I've never had to hire a lawyer other than for real estate, which is no big deal. But anyways, when you hire a lawyer, are you under contract with the person you're representing? And do you have to follow that contract? And let's say you have a person that you're representing, in a court case and you find out through whatever means that he hasn't been straight up with you and he might be not a very good person and he might have been lying to you and you think he's probably guilty of whatever he's trying to get out of, is there a way that you can excuse yourself from the case? Do you have to see the judge on that, or how is that done?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of questions in that question. In most cases, you do have a formal engagement agreement or retainer agreement, and all of our agreements and all the ones that I have ever seen address that if the client is not truthful, is not cooperative, attempts to do something that is unlawful or unethical, that is just cause for the lawyer to withdraw from any further representation of him. There are also ethical rules regulating the Florida bar that prohibit a lawyer from knowingly placing a client or a witness on the stand who is knowingly going to testify falsely. So, I mean, I'm not saying that any of us walk around with a guaranteed lie detector test, and if someone comes in and swears that they were in Atlanta on the day the crime took place and maintains that, and that is their testimony and they're prepared to swear to it under oath, then the lawyer can place them on the stand. Now, if that person comes in and says, you know, I really did this criminal act in Marion County, but I've got an ironclad alibi because I have a ticket to Atlanta, and I've got two witnesses up there that will swear I was guests in their home, and I'm going to take the stand and testify that at the time and date and that the alleged event took place, I was in Atlanta, and I want to use that for my alibi. Lawyer can't do that.
Oh, no. We have to take a little break. You have some more calls coming in. It's really busy, it looks like. So hang in there. Keep calling, and we'll get to the calls after we take this break. We'll be right back with John.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Today will be very warm with more sun than clouds and a high of 82 to 86. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 60 and a few woodland spots, 67 near the coast. Times of clouds and sun of warm again tomorrow, high 82 to 86. On Friday, clouds and breaks of sun and cooler with a shower in spots, the highs in the upper 60s to the mid 70s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located in the heart of downtown Ocala, right next to the historic Marion Theater. I'd like to invite you to stop by and see our new boutique area and meet our staff of professional stylists. Here at Hello Gorgeous, we are ready to update your look with the latest trends. It's the perfect time to brighten up your look, so make your appointment now for those highlights and Brazilian blowout. But don't stop there. We are a full-service salon offering manicures, pedicures, and facials also. So if you've been searching for a salon to call your own, come and see us at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located at 48 South Magnolia Avenue in downtown Ocala, right next to the Marion Theater. So call today and set up your appointment at Hello Gorgeous Salon at 351-5358. That's 351-5358. And don't forget, we also do men and children's cuts too. 351-5358.
Hello, gorgeous.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. John Fuller is here. The show is called Legally Yours. The phone number is 622-9622, and you're getting them ringing today, John.
It's a busy day. That's great.
Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Very good. Question was, my wife's dad recently passed away. His pension was supposed to go to his wife, and he's been getting his pension every month. I don't know if you can answer this question for me or not, but once he tried to get it, they said that his pension had run out as soon as she was trying to switch it over to her mother. Is there any way to research how much was left in his pension or anything else besides taking their word for it?
Well, that's impossible to just answer under circumstances without knowing more about it. I think if I were your relative, I would go consult with a lawyer who specializes in estates and probate, and see what the pension documents and the pension plan, the summary documents as well, say about survivor benefits. I didn't understand the question whether it was a pension or Social Security, but I would start with a lawyer who specializes in probate.
In probate. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the phone lines are open if you want to call 622-9622. John will help you out with your problem. So how do you research to find a lawyer that you would, how do you ask around? How do you get a good probate lawyer?
You can, well, there are several ways. Number one, you can go online and search a national rating service called Martindale-Hubbell, which is the oldest and the most, I think one of the most prestigious services. They do completely impartial valuations of lawyers' abilities in their area of practice, and they grade them A, B, C, or unrated. They also grade their ethical conduct. And you can go online and look up Martindale-Hubbell, the lawyer's name, and they will tell you how many years he's practiced, where he went to school, if he graduated, if he has any honors, awards, achievements, and then they will give him, if he's an exceptionally good lawyer, very preeminent, it's an A rating, an AV rating, V meaning he or she has very high ethical standards too. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is if you have a family lawyer or if you know a lawyer, you can call them and ask them, and we're always happy if it's in an area that we don't practice in. We normally give out 3 names of lawyers who we believe are very competent, who we recommend 3 names, and then they have their choice. If it's something involving out of town, where we may not know or other lawyers may not know, the Florida Bar runs a attorney referral service, and that number is 800-342-8011. And you can call the Florida Bar Referral Service, tell them where you live geographically in the state of Florida, and a little bit about what your anticipated legal issue or legal problem is, and then they will give you the names of 3 lawyers in that geographical area who practice in that particular area of law.
And do you or your wife do probate?
No.
No, you don't do that. Okay.
No, we do not. Not at all. The law has gotten so complex. I started practicing in 1973. I did probate, I did wills, I did real estate, I tried quiet title actions, I did eminent domain. Lawyers were like the family doctors of the 1960s, in that you would see a doctor and he would treat your cold, he would take your appendix out, he would set your broken arm, he would deliver your wife's child, and it's just become impossible to be all things to all people at a high level. So I became board certified in civil trial law in 1985, have been continuously board certified by the Florida Bar and the National Board of Trial Advocacy since that time, and have focused my practice and specialized in civil litigation and business and commercial litigation. And because there is some crossover with business commercial issues, we do a limited select number of very complex, high intensity family law matters that involve substantial assets and complex issues such as family businesses and that sort of thing. Janet, of course, handles almost exclusively Social Security disability law, which is an area that is I don't know anything about it in detail. But that's her area of where she focuses her practice in. And of course, Janet has been a former registered nurse who worked 7 years at Shands Teaching Hospital. And has a wealth of background information in medicine, which facilitates reviewing medical records, reports, test results, and that sort of thing. and she works with me closely in my personal injury cases where someone's seriously injured and there have been a lot of surgical or medical treatment.
wow.
She's very good. I'm very happy to have that in-house expertise.
So with handling Social Security disability, that would be different than like when the caller was on the phone. You said that you don't know if it's a pension or Social Security. That's different than.
Well, there's different. Yeah, Social Security. There is a retirement factor of it that when you reach a certain age, depending on when your birth date was, you can start drawing Social Security. And it's based upon what your historical earnings have been as to how much you are able to be paid. If you are unable to work, and Janet should speak to this, my partner Janet Fuller, because this is something it's ironic this has come up because I was teasing with her when I left. I said, you want me to say anything about Social Security? And she said, yeah, remain silent before you show how little you know about it. So I want to make a disclaimer on that. You have a question, you call Janet Fuller because that's what she handles. But if you're ill or injured or have some process that you're physically unable to work and you're not going to be able to return to work, then you can file a claim for Social Security disability. And if they determine it at the claimant level, they start paying you Social Security disability, no matter what your age is.
And no matter what your work history was?
Well, you have to have work history. You have to have work. Okay. Yeah. But if they deny your claim, then that's when Janet usually gets involved and requests a hearing before an administrative law judge, where they go before the judge and they present all the medical testimony and the evidence and vocational experts, and then the judge decides whether or not the person qualifies for disability. Are they in fact disabled? And that's an area that's totally different than if you work, you have a job, you reach age 62, 66, 70. There are different thresholds as to when you can start drawing it and how much you can draw. But that's something different.
So this may seem crazy and may even seem rude, I guess, but I have a question. You always hear now that alcoholism is a disease. It's not. It's like not your fault. Obesity is a disease. Could you actually get a disability because of alcoholism? Or
again, obesity? You're asking questions that Janet should answer. I do not. I know for a fact that substance abuse is a disqualifying factor from Social Security. Okay. And I know in state law there's some debatable cases as to whether or not someone who has alcoholism but refuses treatment, refuses to be compliant with their aftercare program, refuses to take the medication to do the things to remain sober. There's a question of whether that's a disease or whether that's an intentional act. Many people go to a doctor and the doctor says, you need to take this medication, and they say, I don't believe in taking pills. Oh, well.
That's the end of that. Yeah. We've got about a minute and a half. We do have a phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Listen, I bought a lawnmower, riding lawnmower with a 12.5 horsepower motor on it. It caught fire and it burnt, and guess what? Most of the motor was plastic. The 12.5 horsepower, the only part was the main part, but all the outside, everything burned up on the thing. So then I called the company and asked them, he says, you have to get parts for that. They can't buy parts, they're all melted. And what can I do about that?
Were you injured?
No.
I don't think that there is, I don't think.
Right by the leg, exploded by the leg.
If you had been severely burned, that would be a case that might merit looking into some type of a products liability claim. But if it is simply the repair of a lawnmower, it's probably not economically feasible to pursue that unless you want to do something on your own in summary claims court.
All right, we're right up against the clock, John. Real quickly, what's your phone number again?
Our office is 352-547-4292. Our toll-free number is 855-534-2565, the law firm of Fuller & Fuller. If you have a legal question, we'll be happy to talk with you.
Thank you, John. This is WOCA Ocala. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. Nearly 2 years after the Boston Marathon bombing, Johar Tsarnaev is on trial.
Accused of conspiring